The wealthiest people in history knew something about money that they never taught in schools, never shared in books, and certainly never advertised on television. They understood that becoming rich has almost nothing to do with what you do with your hands, and everything to do with what happens in your mind while you sleep. What I'm about to share with you is the prosperity formula that's been hidden in plain sight for centuries. My name is Joseph Murphy, and for decades I've studied how the subconscious mind creates or destroys prosperity. Today, I'm going to show you the exact formula I've used to help thousands transform their financial reality. Look, I know you've tried budgeting, investing, side hustles, maybe all of them. And if you're still struggling financially, it's not because you're lazy or unlucky. It's because you're trying to build wealth with a subconscious mind that was programmed for poverty. Today, you're going to learn the prosperity formula, the exact method to identify and transform the deep mental patterns that control your financial reality. By the end of this video, you'll have a complete system for reprogramming your subconscious mind for wealth, abundance, and financial freedom. I want you to think about the last time you had a financial opportunity. Maybe someone mentioned an investment, or you saw a business idea, or someone offered you a better job. What was your first thought? Was it, I can't afford that, or that's too risky for someone like me, or rich people get those opportunities, not me? Those aren't conscious decisions. They're subconscious programs running in the background of your mind 24 hours a day. And here's what's fascinating. You can actually reprogram them, not through willpower or positive thinking, but through understanding how your subconscious mind actually works. Here's what we're going to cover today. First, I'll show you the 3 subconscious wealth blockers that keep 95% of people financially stuck, and how to identify which ones are running in your mind. Then, we'll dive into the prosperity formula itself, the 4-step process that rewrites these programs at the deepest level. After that, I'll walk you through the daily practice that makes this transformation permanent. And finally, I'll share something that might surprise you, how to use your subconscious mind to actually attract wealth opportunities that align with your highest good. But here's what I need you to understand right from the start. This isn't about getting rich quick or manipulating the universe. This is about removing the mental barriers that have been blocking your natural capacity for abundance. Because the truth is, prosperity is your birthright. You've just been programmed to believe otherwise. Let's start with the 3 wealth blockers that have been sabotaging your financial success without you even knowing it. The first one is what I call the scarcity imprint. This is the deep programming you received before you were 7 years old about money, wealth, and what's possible for people like you. Think back to your earliest memories about money. What did your parents say when bills came in the mail? How did they react when you asked for something that cost money? Did you hear phrases like, money doesn't grow on trees, or we can't afford that, or rich people are greedy? Every single one of these experiences was being recorded by your subconscious mind as absolute truth about how money works in the world. But it goes deeper than just what you heard. Your subconscious mind was also watching and recording your parents' stress levels around money, their arguments about finances, their body language when dealing with bills or making purchases. If your parents worried about money, your subconscious learned that money equals stress and worry. If they argued about money, your subconscious learned that money creates conflict and problems in relationships. Here's what's so powerful about this. Your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what happened to your parents and what will happen to you. It simply creates a program that says this is how money works, and then spends your entire adult life proving that program right. I remember working with a client who couldn't understand why she kept sabotaging every business opportunity that came her way. When we traced it back, she remembered being 5 years old and watching her father lose his business and fall into a deep depression. Her subconscious had created a program that said, business success leads to devastating loss. So every time she got close to real success, that program would kick in and create self-sabotage to keep her safe from the devastating loss it expected to follow. But here's the thing about scarcity imprints. They're not just about money. They're about what you believe is possible for someone like you. Did your family talk about our kind of people and what we do or don't do? Did they have beliefs about people who had money being somehow different or better or luckier than your family? All of this gets wired into your subconscious. as your identity around money and success. The way to identify your scarcity imprint is to pay attention to your automatic thoughts when financial opportunities arise. What's your first reaction when someone talks about making a lot of money? Do you immediately think, that's not for people like me, or there must be a catch, or I could never do that? Those automatic thoughts are your scarcity imprint talking. I want you to think right now about your earliest memory involving money. Not just hearing about money, but being present when money was discussed or when there was stress about money in your household. What did you learn in that moment about what money means and how it affects people? That's the beginning of your scarcity imprint, and it's been running your financial life ever since. The second wealth blocker is what I call the unworthiness program. This is the deep belief that you don't deserve financial success, abundance, or wealth. And this one is sneaky because it doesn't always show up as, I don't deserve money. It often shows up as, I don't want to be one of those rich people, or money isn't that important to me, or I'd rather be happy than wealthy. But when we dig deeper, what we usually find is a core belief that having money would somehow make you a bad person, or that you'd lose the love and acceptance of the people who matter to you, or that you'd have to compromise your values in order to create wealth. I've seen this pattern in so many people. They'll work incredibly hard, they'll create some success, and then right when they're about to break through to the next level, they'll sabotage themselves. They'll make a bad business decision, or they'll stop marketing their services, or they'll find a way to give away or lose the money they've accumulated. The unworthiness program often comes from messages you received about being humble, not being better than others, or not outshining family members who struggled financially. Maybe you were taught that good people don't focus on money, or that spiritual people shouldn't care about material things, or that wanting wealth is selfish or greedy. Here's a story that illustrates this perfectly. I worked with a man who had built a successful consulting business, but every time his income reached a certain level, he would unconsciously do things that brought it back down. He'd turn down clients, or he'd undercharge for his services, or he'd make mistakes that cost him money. When we explored his childhood, he remembered his mother always talking about his wealthy uncle with disdain, saying things like money went to his head, and he thinks he's better than the rest of us now. His subconscious had created a program that said, if I become wealthy, I'll lose my family's love and acceptance, so it would sabotage his success to keep him safely in the income range where his family felt comfortable with him. The unworthiness program also shows up as imposter syndrome around money. You might feel like you're pretending to be someone you're not when you're in conversations about investments or business opportunities. You might feel like you don't belong in environments where wealthy people gather. You might feel like you're fooling people when you charge what you're worth or when you present yourself as successful. Another way the unworthiness program manifests is through guilt about having more than others. You might find yourself giving money away compulsively, or feeling bad when you buy nice things for yourself, or apologizing for your success when talking to friends or family members who are struggling financially. The key to recognizing the unworthiness program is to notice how you feel in your body when you imagine yourself being truly wealthy. Do you feel excited and expanded? Or do you feel uncomfortable, guilty, or anxious? If it's the latter, you've got some unworthiness programming to work with. The third wealth blocker is what I call the safety limitation. This is when your subconscious mind has decided that staying poor or struggling financially is actually safer than becoming wealthy. I know that sounds crazy, but hear me out. Your subconscious mind's primary job is to keep you safe and alive. It does this by keeping you in familiar territory, even when that familiar territory isn't serving you. If you grew up in a family that struggled with money, if all your friends are in similar financial situations, if your identity is built around being the person who understands what it's like to not have enough, then your subconscious sees wealth as dangerous territory. Think about it. If you became wealthy, you might have to leave your current social circle. You might have to make decisions you've never made before. You might have to deal with responsibilities and pressures you've never experienced. You might have to handle people treating you differently or wanting things from you. From your subconscious mind's perspective, all of that uncertainty feels dangerous. The safety limitation also shows up as fear of the responsibility that comes with wealth. Maybe you've told yourself that rich people have to work all the time, or that having money means everyone will expect things from you, or that wealth comes with problems you don't want to deal with. Your subconscious hears all of this and decides that staying where you are financially is the safer option. I remember working with a woman who kept her business small and her income low because she was terrified of the tax implications of making more money. She was convinced that if she made too much money, she'd somehow get in trouble with the government or make mistakes that would cost her everything. Her subconscious had created a program that said financial invisibility equals safety, so it kept her income just below the threshold where she'd have to deal with more complex financial situations. Another way the safety limitation shows up is through the belief that money changes people in negative ways. Maybe you've seen examples of people who became wealthy and seemed to become arrogant or disconnected from their values. Maybe you're afraid that having money would make you lazy or entitled or cause you to lose your drive and purpose. Your subconscious takes these fears and uses them to justify keeping you in financial limitation. The safety limitation can also manifest as a fear of loss. If you've never had much money, you can't lose much money. But if you build wealth, now there's something to lose, and your subconscious might decide that the potential pain of loss isn't worth the risk of gain. This keeps you in a comfort zone that feels safe but severely limits your financial potential. Here's how to recognize if you have a safety limitation around wealth. Imagine yourself earning 10 times your current income. What's your immediate reaction? Do you feel excited, or do you immediately start thinking about all the problems and complications that would come with that level of income? If it's the latter, your subconscious has decided that your current financial situation is the safest place for you to be. Now that you can see what's been blocking you, let me show you how to reprogram these patterns. This is the prosperity formula, the exact process that can transform your subconscious relationship with money and wealth. The first step is recognition without resistance. Most people, when they discover their limiting beliefs about money, immediately try to fight them or argue with them or force them to change. But here's what I've learned. What you resist persists. When you fight against a limiting belief, you actually give it more energy and make it stronger. Instead, I want you to become a compassionate observer of your own thought patterns. When you notice a limiting belief about money, don't judge it or try to change it immediately. Just notice it with curiosity and kindness, the way you might notice an interesting cloud formation in the sky. For example, if you catch yourself thinking, I could never afford that, instead of immediately arguing with that thought or feeling bad about having it, just observe it. Notice how it feels in your body. Notice what triggered it. Notice how automatic and convincing it seems. But don't try to change it yet. This is crucial because your limiting beliefs aren't your enemy. They're programs that were created to protect you. The scarcity imprint was your mind's way of helping you fit in with your family and understand how money worked in your world. The unworthiness program was your mind's way of keeping you humble and accepted by your community. The safety limitation was your mind's way of protecting you from uncertainty and risk. When you can recognize these patterns without resistance, you create space between you and your automatic thoughts. This space is where transformation becomes possible. You begin to see that these beliefs aren't facts about reality. They're learned programs that can be updated and changed. Here's a technique I call the belief detective. For the next week, carry a small notebook or use your phone to make notes every time you notice an automatic thought about money, wealth, or financial opportunities. Don't try to change the thoughts. Just capture them. Write down what you were doing, when the thought occurred, what the exact thought was, and how it made you feel. At the end of the week, look for patterns. You might notice that certain situations always trigger the same limiting thoughts. You might notice that your thoughts about money are very different from your thoughts about other areas of your life. You might notice that some of your limiting beliefs sound exactly like things your parents or other influential people used to say. This recognition process is like turning on a light in a room that's been dark. Once you can see clearly what's been running in your subconscious, you can begin to make conscious choices about whether you want to keep these programs or update them. The second step in the prosperity formula is relaxation and receptivity. Your subconscious mind is most open to new programming when you're in what scientists call the alpha brainwave state. This is the relaxed, dreamy state you're in right before you fall asleep or right as you're waking up. There's also the state you enter during meditation, hypnosis, or when you're deeply absorbed in a creative activity. The reason this state is so important is that your conscious mind, the part of your mind that analyzes, judges, and resists, is much less active when you're in alpha state. This means your subconscious mind can receive new information without the conscious mind immediately arguing with it or rejecting it. Think about it this way. If I tried to install new software on a computer while the old software was running and actively resisting the installation, it wouldn't work very well. But if I could temporarily quiet the old software, the new software could install easily and completely. That's what happens when you access the alpha state for subconscious reprogramming. Here's the technique I call prosperity preparation. Find a quiet place where you won't be interrupted for 10 to 15 minutes. Sit in a comfortable chair or lie down. Close your eyes and begin to relax your body, starting with your toes and working your way up to the top of your head. As you relax each part of your body, mentally tell it to let go of all tension and stress. Once your body is relaxed, begin to slow down your breathing. Breathe in slowly for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4, then breathe out slowly for a count of 4. Continue this pattern until you feel deeply relaxed and peaceful. In this state, your subconscious mind is open and receptive. This is when you can begin to install new prosperity programming. But timing is important. The best times to do this work are first thing in the morning, right after you wake up, or last thing at night, right before you fall asleep. Your brain is naturally in alpha state during these times, so you don't have to work as hard to access the right level of consciousness. You can also access this state during the day through meditation or deep relaxation exercises. Some people find that certain types of music help them reach this receptive state. Others prefer complete silence. Experiment and find what works best for you. The key is consistency rather than intensity. It's better to spend 10 minutes in this relaxed, receptive state every day than to do a 2-hour session once a week. Your subconscious mind learns through repetition, so regular, consistent practice is much more effective than occasional intense sessions. The third step is replacement with prosperity truth. Once you're in that relaxed, receptive state, you can begin to install new beliefs about money, wealth, and your capacity for financial success. But this isn't just about repeating positive affirmations. It's about creating new neural pathways that feel emotionally true and personally resonant. The most effective prosperity programming combines 3 elements: verbal affirmations, visual imagery, and emotional feeling. Your subconscious mind learns through all of these channels, so when you combine them, the programming becomes much more powerful and lasting. Let's start with verbal affirmations. These need to be personally meaningful and emotionally believable. Generic affirmations like "I am rich" often don't work because they're too far from your current reality for your subconscious to accept. Instead, create affirmations that feel like a stretch but not like a lie. For example, instead of "I am wealthy beyond measure," you might start with "I am becoming more comfortable with money every day," or "I am opening my mind to new possibilities for prosperity," or "I deserve financial success and I'm learning to receive it." These feel more believable to your subconscious mind, which makes them more effective. Here are some prosperity affirmations that have been particularly powerful for the people I've worked with. My subconscious mind now attracts opportunities for wealth and abundance. I am worthy of financial success, and I accept it with gratitude. Money flows to me easily and ethically in perfect ways. I trust my ability to create wealth while staying true to my values. Every day, I become more magnetic to prosperity and financial freedom. But affirmations alone aren't enough. You need to combine them with vivid mental imagery. While you're in that relaxed state, create detailed mental movies of yourself living from prosperity consciousness. See yourself making confident financial decisions. Imagine yourself receiving unexpected income or opportunities. Visualize yourself enjoying the fruits of your financial success while feeling grateful and grounded. The key to effective visualization is to make it as real and detailed as possible. What are you wearing? Where are you? Who is with you? What do you see, hear, smell, and feel? The more sensory details you include, the more real it becomes to your subconscious mind. But here's the most important part. You need to feel the emotions of prosperity while you're doing this programming. Your subconscious mind learns primarily through emotion. So if you're just mechanically repeating words without feeling, the programming won't stick. As you repeat your affirmations and visualize your prosperous future, Generate the feelings of gratitude, excitement, confidence, and peace that would come with financial freedom. Feel what it would be like to make decisions from abundance rather than scarcity. Feel what it would be like to be generous with others, because you have more than enough. Feel what it would be like to pursue opportunities from excitement rather than desperation. I worked with a client who had been struggling with money her entire life. She had tried affirmations before, but they never seemed to work. When we started working together, I discovered that she was repeating prosperity affirmations while feeling anxious and doubtful about money. Her words were saying one thing, but her emotions were programming the opposite. When she learned to first get into a relaxed state, then generate genuine feelings of gratitude for the money she already had, and then expand those feelings as she imagined greater abundance, everything changed. Within 6 months, she had doubled her income and started a side business that was bringing in additional revenue. The programming finally worked because her emotions were aligned with her words and images. Here's a complete prosperity programming session you can use. Get into your relaxed, receptive state using the technique I described earlier. Once you feel peaceful and open, begin with gratitude for the money and abundance you already have in your life. Really feel that gratitude, even if your current financial situation isn't perfect. Then, begin to repeat your chosen affirmations, either silently or in a soft whisper. As you repeat each affirmation, create mental images that support the words. See yourself living from that new belief. Feel the emotions that would come with that new reality. Continue this process for 10 to 15 minutes. Then slowly return your awareness to the present moment. Open your eyes feeling confident and expectant about your financial future. Do this every morning and every evening for at least 21 days. After 21 days, you'll begin to notice shifts in your automatic thoughts about money. After 66 days, the new programming will start to feel natural and automatic. After 90 days, you'll be operating from a completely different relationship with money and wealth. The fourth step in the prosperity formula is integration through inspired action. All the subconscious programming in the world won't create wealth for you if you don't take action in the physical world. But there's a difference between desperate action driven by fear and scarcity and inspired action that flows from prosperity consciousness. When you're operating from scarcity programming, your actions tend to be frantic, pushy, and driven by desperation. You might find yourself chasing every opportunity, saying yes to things that don't feel right, or working harder and harder without seeing proportional results. This kind of action actually reinforces scarcity, because it comes from the belief that you have to fight and struggle for everything you get. But when you're operating from prosperity consciousness, your actions feel different. They're guided by intuition and inner knowing rather than fear and desperation. You find yourself naturally attracted to opportunities that align with your values and strengths. You make decisions with confidence and clarity. You work smarter rather than just harder. Here's how to recognize when you're taking inspired action versus desperate action. Inspired action feels energizing, even when it's challenging. Desperate action feels draining and stressful. Inspired action comes from a sense of possibility and excitement. Desperate action comes from a fear of not having enough or not being enough. Inspired action often involves saying no to opportunities that don't feel right, even when you need money. Desperate action involves saying yes to everything out of fear of missing out or not having other options. The key is to learn to trust your prosperity instincts. As you continue to reprogram your subconscious mind for wealth, you'll find that opportunities start to appear that you would have missed when you were operating from scarcity consciousness. Your subconscious mind will begin to notice possibilities that align with your new prosperity programming. But you have to be willing to act on these insights, even when they don't make complete logical sense. I'm not talking about being reckless or irresponsible with money. I'm talking about being willing to take calculated risks based on your inner guidance, rather than only taking action when you can guarantee the outcome. Let me share a story that illustrates this perfectly. I worked with a man who had been struggling to grow his business for years. He was working 60 hours a week, taking on any client who would pay him, and constantly worried about where his next dollar would come from. After several months of prosperity programming, he started to get strong intuitive guidance to turn down certain types of clients and focus only on the work that energized him. His logical mind was terrified. He was afraid that turning down clients would mean not having enough money to pay his bills. But his prosperity consciousness was telling him that focusing on his strengths would actually attract better clients and higher income. He decided to trust his new programming and started saying no to projects that drained him, even when he needed the money. Within 3 months, he attracted 2 ideal clients who paid him more than all of his previous small clients combined. By focusing his energy on work that aligned with his strengths and values, he created space for opportunities that were much more profitable and fulfilling. This is what inspired action looks like. It often requires you to go against your old scarcity programming and trust that abundance is available when you align with your highest good. Now let me walk you through the daily practice that makes this transformation permanent. Reprogramming your subconscious mind isn't something you do once and then forget about. It requires consistent, daily practice until the new programming becomes automatic and natural. Your morning practice sets the tone for your entire day. The first 30 minutes after you wake up are crucial because your brain is still in that alpha state where your subconscious mind is most receptive to new programming. Instead of immediately checking your phone or jumping into your daily activities, use this time to reinforce your prosperity consciousness. Here's a step-by-step morning practice. As soon as you wake up, before you get out of bed, spend a few minutes feeling grateful for the abundance that's already in your life. This could be your health, your relationships, your home, or any money you currently have. The key is to generate genuine feelings of gratitude and appreciation. Then, while you're still in that drowsy, receptive state, begin to repeat your prosperity affirmations. Do this silently, with feeling, while imagining yourself living from abundance and financial freedom. Spend about 10 minutes on this practice. Next, as you get ready for your day, set an intention to notice opportunities for wealth and abundance. Ask your subconscious mind to help you recognize possibilities that align with your prosperity programming. Expect that something good will happen with money or opportunities during the day. Throughout the day, pay attention to your thoughts about money and financial opportunities. When you notice old scarcity thoughts arising, don't fight them, but don't believe them either. Instead, gently redirect your attention to your prosperity programming. Remind yourself that you're in the process of creating a new financial reality. Your evening practice is equally important. The period right before you fall asleep is another time when your subconscious mind is highly receptive to programming. Instead of falling asleep worried about money or watching negative news, use this time to reinforce your wealth consciousness. Here's a step-by-step evening practice. Before you go to bed, review your day from a prosperity perspective. Instead of focusing on what went wrong financially or what you're worried about, look for evidence that abundance is flowing in your life. Maybe you received an unexpected refund, or someone treated you to lunch, or you found a good deal on something you needed. Train your mind to notice abundance in all its forms. Then, spend 10 to 15 minutes doing your prosperity programming. Get into that relaxed, receptive state and repeat your affirmations while visualizing your abundant future. And by setting an intention for your subconscious mind to work on attracting wealth and opportunities while you sleep. As you drift off to sleep, instead of worrying about your finances or your future, fall asleep, feeling excited about the prosperity that's coming into your life. Your subconscious mind continues to work while you sleep, so the last thoughts and feelings you have before sleep are particularly powerful in creating your reality. But what about when financial challenges arise? How do you maintain prosperity consciousness when you're facing bills you can't pay, or when your income drops, or when unexpected expenses come up? This is when your new programming is really tested, and it's also when it becomes strongest. The key is to use challenges as opportunities to strengthen your prosperity consciousness rather than letting them throw you back into scarcity thinking. When a financial challenge arises, your first instinct might be to panic, worry, or feel like your prosperity programming isn't working. But this is exactly when you need to lean into your new beliefs even more strongly. Instead of seeing a financial setback as proof that you're destined to struggle with money, reframe it as the universe redirecting you towards something better. Instead of panicking about temporary lack, use it as motivation to deepen your prosperity programming and look for new opportunities. I remember going through a period where several of my income sources dried up at the same time. My old programming would have sent me into panic and desperation, taking any work I could find just to survive. But my prosperity consciousness told me that this was happening for a reason, that something better was coming, and that I needed to trust the process. Instead of desperately chasing any opportunity for money, I used that time to strengthen my prosperity programming and get clear about the kind of work I really wanted to be doing. Within 2 months, I received an opportunity that was better than anything I had lost. And it came through a connection I never would have made if I had been busy with my old work. Here are some emergency prosperity practices for challenging times. When you're feeling scared about money, immediately do a gratitude practice. Force yourself to find at least 10 things you're grateful for, including any money or abundance you currently have, no matter how small. Remind yourself that this challenge is temporary and that your prosperity consciousness is attracting solutions. Repeat affirmations like, "This situation is leading me to greater abundance," or "My subconscious mind is working to resolve this in perfect ways." Look for opportunities hidden within the challenge. Maybe this financial pressure will motivate you to start the business you've been thinking about. Maybe it will force you to develop new skills that will increase your earning potential. Maybe it will connect you with people or resources you wouldn't have encountered otherwise. Take inspired action based on your prosperity consciousness, rather than desperate action based on fear. Ask yourself, what would someone with abundant thinking do in this situation? And then follow that guidance. Most importantly, don't let temporary financial challenges convince you that your prosperity programming isn't working. Change takes time, and sometimes things get worse before they get better, as old patterns are being broken up and new patterns are being established. Now let's talk about how to use your prosperity consciousness to attract aligned opportunities. When your subconscious mind is programmed for wealth, it doesn't just change how you think about money. It actually changes what you notice and attract in the world around you. There's a principle called the law of correspondence that says, as within, so without. This means that your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. When your inner world is programmed for scarcity, lack, and financial struggle, your outer world will reflect that programming by presenting you with circumstances that match those beliefs. But when your inner world is programmed for prosperity, abundance, and financial success, your outer world begins to shift to match that new programming. You start to notice opportunities that were always there, but that your scarcity programmed mind couldn't see. You start to attract people and situations that support your financial growth. You start to receive ideas and insights that can lead to increased income and wealth. This isn't magic, it's psychology and neuroscience. Your subconscious mind is constantly filtering information from your environment. There are millions of bits of information hitting your senses every second, but your conscious mind can only process a tiny fraction of that information. Your subconscious mind decides what to bring to your conscious attention based on what it thinks is important and relevant. When your subconscious is programmed for scarcity, it filters information to confirm and reinforce that programming. It notices and remembers evidence of financial struggle and limitation. It pays attention to news about economic problems and recession. It focuses on lack and overlooks abundance. But when your subconscious is programmed for prosperity, it filters information differently. It notices and remembers evidence of financial opportunity and success. It pays attention to stories of people creating wealth and abundance. It focuses on possibility and potential rather than limitation and lack. This shift in attention and focus literally changes the opportunities available to you. You start to notice job openings you would have missed before. You start to have conversations that lead to business opportunities. You start to receive invitations to events where you meet people who can help your financial situation. You start to get ideas for new sources of income or ways to increase your current income. Let me share a story that perfectly illustrates this principle. I worked with a woman who had been struggling financially for years. She was always focused on what she couldn't afford and what was going wrong with her finances. After several months of prosperity programming, she started to notice opportunities everywhere. She overheard a conversation at a coffee shop about a company that needed freelance writers. She saw a flyer for a workshop on starting an online business. She met someone at a networking event who offered her a consulting opportunity. These types of opportunities had probably always been around her, but her scarcity-programmed mind had filtered them out as not relevant or not for someone like her. With her new prosperity programming, her subconscious mind was now filtering for opportunities rather than limitations. Within a year, she had tripled her income through a combination of freelance writing, online business, and consulting work. The opportunities were there all along. She just needed the right programming to notice and act on them. But here's what's really important to understand. Attracting opportunities isn't about sitting back and waiting for things to fall into your lap. It's about becoming the kind of person who recognizes and acts on opportunities that align with your values and goals. This means developing what I call prosperity awareness. Start paying attention to success stories in your field or industry. Notice when people around you are prospering and ask yourself what you can learn from their approach. Look for problems in the world that you could solve for money. Pay attention to trends and changes in your industry that might create new opportunities. Also, start developing relationships with people who are operating from prosperity consciousness. The people you surround yourself with have a huge impact on your subconscious programming. If you're constantly around people who complain about money and believe that financial struggle is inevitable, that programming will influence your own beliefs. But if you start spending time with people who see opportunities where others see problems, who believe that abundance is available to everyone, who take inspired action toward their financial goals, their programming will influence your programming in positive ways. This doesn't mean you have to abandon friends or family members who are struggling financially, but it does mean being intentional about also surrounding yourself with people who model the prosperity consciousness you're developing. Taking inspired action from prosperity consciousness feels different from taking action from scarcity consciousness. When you're operating from scarcity, action often feels forced, desperate, and driven by fear. You might find yourself working harder and harder without seeing proportional results. You might chase opportunities that don't feel right just because you need money. You might say yes to things that drain your energy because you're afraid to say no. But when you're operating from prosperity consciousness, action feels more natural and flowing. You're drawn to opportunities that align with your strengths and values. You make decisions from confidence rather than fear. You're willing to say no to opportunities that don't feel right because you trust that better opportunities are coming. Here's how to recognize inspired action. It usually involves some risk, but the risk feels exciting rather than terrifying. It aligns with your natural talents and interests. It serves others while also serving you. It feels expansive and energizing rather than contracting and draining. It often requires you to grow and learn new things, but in ways that feel challenging rather than overwhelming. Inspired action also often involves perfect timing. You might get an idea for a new business right when you meet someone who has the exact skills you need to implement it. You might decide to learn a new skill right before an opportunity arises that requires that skill. You might feel guided to attend an event where you make a connection that changes your financial trajectory. This isn't coincidence. It's your prosperity program's subconscious mind orchestrating opportunities and timing in ways that support your financial growth. But you have to be willing to act on these inspirations, even when they don't make complete logical sense. I remember getting a strong feeling that I should attend a particular workshop, even though it was expensive and didn't seem directly related to my business goals. My logical mind was resistant, but my prosperity consciousness kept nudging me to go. At that workshop, I met someone who became a key collaborator in a project that generated more income than I had made in the previous year. If I had only listened to my logical mind, I would have missed that opportunity completely. The key to taking inspired action is learning to distinguish between the voice of your prosperity consciousness and the voice of your fear-based thinking. Your prosperity consciousness usually speaks quietly, but persistently. It doesn't argue or try to convince you with elaborate justifications. It simply presents possibilities and opportunities with a sense of rightness and potential. Your fear-based thinking, on the other hand, is usually much louder and more insistent. It presents elaborate worst-case scenarios. It gives you dozens of reasons why something won't work or why you're not qualified or why it's too risky. It tries to keep you in your comfort zone by making anything new or challenging seem dangerous. Learning to trust your prosperity instincts takes practice. Start with small decisions where the stakes aren't too high. Maybe you feel drawn to attend a networking event, or to take a class that interests you, or to reach out to someone who might become a valuable connection. Take action on these smaller inspirations and notice what happens. This builds your confidence in your inner guidance system. Now let's talk about maintaining wealth consciousness long term. Creating prosperity programming is one thing. Sustaining it over months and years is another. There will be times when old patterns resurface, when challenges test your new beliefs, and when people around you try to pull you back into scarcity thinking. The key is to understand that transformation isn't a straight line. You'll have days when your prosperity consciousness feels strong and natural, and you'll have days when old doubts and fears arise. This is normal and expected. The goal isn't to never have negative thoughts about money. The goal is to not let those thoughts derail your overall programming. When old patterns resurface, don't judge yourself or assume that your prosperity work isn't working. Instead, see it as an opportunity to strengthen your new programming. Notice the old pattern, acknowledge it without resistance, and then consciously choose to redirect your thoughts and energy toward your prosperity programming. I like to think of it like building muscle. When you're building physical muscle, you don't expect to lift the same weight every single day. Some days you're stronger, some days you're weaker, but the overall trend is toward greater strength. Building prosperity consciousness works the same way. One of the biggest challenges to maintaining wealth consciousness is dealing with people who are still operating from scarcity programming. When you start to change your relationship with money, people around you might react in unexpected ways. Some might be supportive and inspired by your transformation. Others might feel threatened or uncomfortable with your new beliefs and behaviors. You might have family members who make comments about you getting too big for your britches, or friends who try to talk you out of pursuing opportunities because they're too risky. You might encounter people who insist that money is evil, or that wanting wealth is selfish, or that you should be content with what you have. It's important to understand that these reactions aren't really about you. They're about other people's own limiting beliefs and fears around money. When you change your programming, you inadvertently challenge their programming, which can make them uncomfortable. The key is to stay grounded in your own prosperity consciousness without trying to convince others to change their beliefs. You can't force someone else to adopt wealth consciousness, and trying to do so will usually create conflict and resistance. Instead, simply model prosperity consciousness through your thoughts, feelings, and actions. Live from abundance. Make decisions from confidence rather than fear. Be generous when you can. Pursue opportunities that align with your values. Some people will be inspired by your example and might ask you about your approach. Others will remain committed to their scarcity programming, and that's their choice. Another challenge to maintaining wealth consciousness is dealing with prosperity guilt. As you start to experience more financial success, you might find yourself feeling guilty about having more than others, especially if people you care about are still struggling financially. This guilt can actually sabotage your continued prosperity if you're not careful. Your subconscious mind might interpret the guilt as a signal that having money is wrong or harmful, and it might start to create circumstances that bring your financial situation back down to a level where you feel more comfortable. The antidote to prosperity guilt is understanding that your financial success doesn't take anything away from others. Wealth isn't a pie where someone else gets less if you get more. In fact, the more prosperous you become, the more you're able to contribute to others and to causes that matter to you. When you're operating from genuine prosperity consciousness, your success naturally lifts others up rather than leaving them behind. You create opportunities for other people through your business activities. You're able to be more generous with your time, money, and resources. You model what's possible for people who are still struggling with scarcity programming. I've found that the people who are most resistant to others' prosperity are usually the people who are most stuck in their own scarcity programming. People who are genuinely happy and abundant in their own lives celebrate others' success rather than resenting it. As you continue to develop and maintain your prosperity consciousness, you'll also want to keep expanding and growing. Wealth consciousness isn't a destination, it's an ongoing journey of growth and expansion. There will always be new levels of abundance to explore, new opportunities to pursue, new ways to serve others while creating prosperity for yourself. This means continuing to challenge yourself and step outside your comfort zone. It means being willing to learn new skills, explore new opportunities, and take calculated risks. It means staying open to possibilities that might not fit your current understanding of how money and success work. One of the most important aspects of maintaining long-term prosperity consciousness is finding ways to serve others through your wealth and success. When your prosperity is aligned with your values and your desire to contribute to the world, it becomes sustainable and fulfilling, rather than empty or anxiety-provoking. This doesn't mean you have to give away all your money or sacrifice your own well-being for others. It means finding ways to use your financial success as a tool for positive impact. Maybe you'll start a business that solves an important problem. Maybe you'll invest in companies that align with your values. Maybe you'll support causes or organizations that matter to you. Maybe you'll mentor others who are developing their own prosperity consciousness. When your wealth serves something larger than just your personal comfort and security, it becomes a source of meaning and purpose rather than just a means of buying things. This alignment between prosperity and purpose is what makes wealth consciousness sustainable over the long term. Let me share one more advanced principle that can accelerate your prosperity transformation. It's about understanding the connection between your life purpose and your financial abundance. When your wealth creation is aligned with your unique gifts and your desire to serve the world, money flows much more easily and naturally. Most people approach wealth creation backwards. They first decide they want to make money, then they try to figure out how to do it. But the most sustainable and fulfilling path to prosperity starts with understanding your unique talents and how you can use them to serve others. When you find the intersection between what you're naturally good at, what you enjoy doing, and what the world needs, money becomes a natural byproduct of that service. This doesn't mean you have to sacrifice financial success for meaning, or that you can't make money doing things you don't love. But it does mean that your greatest prosperity potential lies in aligning your wealth creation with your authentic self and your desire to contribute. I've worked with many people who struggled financially for years while trying to make money in ways that didn't align with their natural gifts or values. But when they shifted their approach to focus first on service and alignment, their financial situation often transformed dramatically. Think about what comes naturally to you. What do people often ask for your help with? What problems do you see in the world that you feel called to solve? What activities make you lose track of time because you enjoy them so much? The answers to these questions point toward your unique path to prosperity. This alignment between purpose and prosperity also makes your wealth consciousness much stronger and more resilient. When you know that your financial success is serving something larger than yourself, it becomes much easier to overcome limiting beliefs and take inspired action. You're not just pursuing money for personal gain, you're pursuing prosperity so you can make a greater contribution to the world. Your subconscious mind responds very powerfully to this sense of purpose and service. When it understands that your wealth will enable you to help others and make a positive impact, it becomes much more willing to support your prosperity goals. Here's a powerful exercise for connecting your prosperity consciousness with your life purpose. In your relaxed, receptive state, imagine yourself 5 years from now, living from complete financial freedom and abundance. But instead of just focusing on what you'll have or what you'll buy, focus on what you'll be able to contribute. See yourself using your wealth to support causes that matter to you. Imagine the ways your financial freedom will allow you to serve others more effectively. Visualize the positive impact you'll be able to make because you have the resources to support your vision. Feel the deep satisfaction and fulfillment that comes from knowing your prosperity is aligned with your purpose. Let this feeling of aligned abundance become part of your daily prosperity programming. When your wealth consciousness is connected to something larger than personal gain, it becomes incredibly powerful and sustainable. You're not just changing your financial situation, you're stepping into your role as a prosperous person who uses abundance to create positive change in the world. Now let's address something that often comes up as people develop prosperity consciousness: how to handle the social pressures and judgment that sometimes accompany financial success. As your income grows and your lifestyle improves, you might find yourself in situations where others make comments about your success, or where you feel pressure to downplay your prosperity to make others comfortable. This is where having strong prosperity consciousness becomes crucial. If you start to feel guilty or apologetic about your success, or if you begin to hide your prosperity to avoid judgment, you're actually weakening your wealth programming and potentially sabotaging your continued growth. The key is to remain grounded in the understanding that your prosperity serves not just you, but everyone around you. When you're financially abundant, you're able to be more generous, more supportive, and more present for the people in your life. You're also modeling what's possible for others who are ready to expand their own wealth consciousness. This doesn't mean being flashy or boastful about your success. True prosperity consciousness is confident but humble, abundant but grounded. You can enjoy your financial success without needing to prove anything to anyone or make others feel bad about their situation. I've found that the people who are most comfortable with others' success are usually the people who are most secure in their own worth and potential. The people who react negatively to others' prosperity are often struggling with their own limiting beliefs about money and success. Your job isn't to manage other people's reactions to your prosperity. Your job is to stay aligned with your wealth consciousness and continue growing and contributing in ways that feel authentic to you. As we near the end of our time together, I want to share some final thoughts about the journey of developing prosperity consciousness. This isn't just about changing your bank account balance. It's about fundamentally transforming your relationship with abundance in all its forms. When you reprogram your subconscious mind for prosperity, you don't just attract more money. You also become more magnetic to opportunities, relationships, experiences, and circumstances that support your overall well-being and happiness. You develop a sense of confidence and security that comes from knowing you can create value and abundance wherever you go. This transformation also tends to have positive effects on other areas of your life. People often find that as they develop wealth consciousness, their relationships improve, their health gets better, and their overall sense of life satisfaction increases. This happens because prosperity consciousness is really about believing in your own worth and potential, and that belief affects every aspect of your experience. The prosperity formula I've shared with you today is based on decades of study and thousands of success stories. But remember, transformation takes time and consistency. Don't expect overnight results, but do expect gradual, steady progress toward greater financial freedom and abundance. Be patient with yourself as you reprogram old patterns and install new ones. Celebrate small wins along the way. Notice evidence of your growing prosperity consciousness even before you see dramatic changes in your bank account. Trust the process and stay committed to your daily practice. Most importantly, remember that you deserve prosperity. Not because you're better than anyone else, but because abundance is your natural birthright as a creative, valuable human being. The limiting beliefs that have kept you financially stuck are not the truth about you or about what's possible in your life. Let me bring this all together for you. Today, you've discovered the 3 subconscious wealth blockers that have been running your financial life from behind the scenes. You've learned the 4-step prosperity formula that can reprogram these patterns at the deepest level, and you've received practical tools for making this transformation a daily reality. But here's what I want you to remember above all else. Prosperity isn't just about money in the bank. When you align your subconscious mind with abundance, you don't just attract wealth, you attract opportunities, relationships, and experiences that serve your highest good and the good of others. The formula works. The science is sound. The only question is, are you ready to let go of the financial limitations that have been holding you back? Before you go, I want you to repeat this with me out loud. My subconscious mind is now programmed for prosperity, abundance, and financial freedom. I recognize opportunities easily, I act with confidence, and I receive wealth in perfect alignment with my highest good. Now, if you're ready to take this even deeper, I want you to watch my next video, The Hidden Money Blocks That Even Prosperity Teachers Miss. In it, I reveal 3 advanced patterns that can sabotage wealth consciousness even after you've done this foundational work. These are the blocks that keep people stuck at certain income levels, no matter how much mindset work they do. Click that video right now, because if you've made it this far, you're serious about transformation and you deserve to have all the tools you need for complete financial freedom.